At Metro, you get everything you need to rule your school year. Right now, get a new phone and tablet on us when you switch. Plus, enjoy high-speed data on both devices for just $75 a month. And with one Amazon Prime membership included, you can watch Amazon originals, movies and shows, stream endless music, and enjoy free shipping. Metro by T-Mobile. Rule your day. With new lines of service after rebate redemption plus sales tax and activation fee. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Amazon Prime has a $12.99 a month cost. Restrictions apply.
What's going on, folks? Thanks for hitting that download button and checking out a brand new episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade, your one-stop shop for toys, tech, and talk with some assembly required. I'm your host, Rich Butler, and if this is your first time tuning into an episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade, a little background before we get into some housekeeping and this week's guest. Toys and Tech of the Trade is an interview series shining the spotlight on creatives, CEOs, entrepreneurs, you name it, and we showcase the gear and various tools that they use to create content or run their businesses, whether it's a special piece of software, some hardware, or a combination of the two. We want to share that with you guys because if you're an entrepreneur or somebody that's a content creator looking for, that one piece of tech or that one piece of actionable advice that can help you go to the next level, we want to be there to help you along the way. When it comes to toys, we like to put that in quotes, so to speak, because toys don't have to just be action figures. It could be anything. It could be big boys toys, cars, bikes, guns, knives, cooking accessories, guitars, drums. Toys is a universal definition here to encompass many of the other things that we collect or obsess over. And not only that, but those toys sometimes end up working to make us happier or help us create our content. And we want to showcase that with you guys. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an understanding of what we're all about before you continue on to this week's guest. But before we do that, some housekeeping first and foremost. I want to thank those of you that have been checking out the episodes of Toys and Tech of the Trade thus far. We're kind of starting to find our footing as a veteran podcaster. My litmus test is 10 episodes. I know that once we hit the 10 episode mark, things get a little easier as we try to find our voice, so to speak, and just get a good groove with regards to the interviews, our guests, etc. And I want to thank all of you that have, sent me some words of encouragement, given some suggestions, some tips. We're definitely trying to apply as much of it as possible so that we can take this podcast to the next level alongside many of the other shows on the RageWorks network. For those of you that had heard some previous episodes and have been following us on social media, you know that we were at Toy Fair last week, and we're going to be doing a special Toy Fair episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade, obviously, where I sound off on, some of my favorite toys, the event in general, and also, obviously, some of the gear that I use to cover that event. So if you are someone that's looking into running a website and covering events, definitely give that episode a listen when it comes out so you can get an understanding of my process and how I approach events such as Toy Fair or New York Comic Con or events of that magnitude. Hopefully, the gear and the tactics that I use can be applicable to your business. All right, that's going to wrap up housekeeping. Let's get into this week's guest. My guest for this episode is part of the RageWorks Creator Series. He is one of our podcast hosts, and he is a very, very talented individual, and that is the one and only Josiesboy. I had the pleasure of meeting Josiesboy thanks to Jay Santee, who many of you know from Turnbuckle Tabloid and also from the regular season Sportscast. He also works the boards for Josiesboy's podcast, Call Me When It's Over. And, Jay introduced us, and I saw just untapped potential from Josiesboy. I felt that this was a guy who was in addition to being an accomplished artist, a guy that could sit there and chop it up about sports, about politics, about religion. And I said, this guy has the it factor. He has something. It's the same thing I saw in Jay Santee when Jay joined the Rageworks family so many years ago. And, it's something that I'm proud of, to see Josiesboy take Call Me When It's Over, well past its 100th episode, on its way to, the 150 mark, and, securing over 1,000 downloads, distribution on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, etc. I'm pleased to call him a friend, a brother in arms, and I am hoping that you guys will enjoy learning more about the toys and tech of his trade. So without any further ado, let's kick it over to my interview with Josiesboy. Enjoy. The Rageworks Creator Series continues with my guest for this episode, the one and only Josiesboy. What's going on, my friend?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for having me.
I am, I've been excited to have you be part of this Creator Series that we showcase the best and brightest of Rageworks, just because you're a multifaceted and super talented individual. Besides obviously picking up the microphone for Call Me When It's Over, Josiesboy is also an accomplished artist, with pieces throughout New York City. He's done different art installations. He's been all over the city just showcasing his amazing artwork. And not only that, but he's also a great entrepreneur, getting himself out there as a brand. And I wanted to not only share his story, but also the toys and tech of his trade. So let's get into the origin story of things. You've been an artist pretty much, I feel, your entire life.
For the most part.
What got you into artwork? What started that path for you?
Literally from birth. Like it's so funny because when people ask you like, oh, how long have you been making stuff? And it's like, it's hard to say because I just remember holding it, but, I remember since I was 9, I knew what I wanted. I told my grandmother when I was 9, I was going to sell my drawings for the rest of my life.
Nice.
At 9 years old, I told her that. And,
that's dope.
And, I never looked back. Of course you have the quintessential, oh, I'm going to go to the NBA, whatever. It's like, I play ball, but I'm like, nah, I know what I'm going to do. So, just pretty much my grandmother pushed me to kind of hone my craft, and she knew I was good. So she would just keep giving me coloring books and pencils and pens and things of that nature. Then when I was, I want to say around like 10 in 6th grade, that's when I found out I was kind of better than everybody. We did a project and I realized like, you know what? I'm pretty good. Like,
was it drawing a still life?
No, not yet. No, I was doing that.
I remember they made us do that in school. I'm like, nope, I'm not an artist.
Yeah, so we had a project, and they said bring something that you love. So at that time I was already collecting sketchbooks, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring my drawings. This is my first time showing anybody in public. So I bring my drawings, and it had to be I don't know why it was a group dynamic. It had to be a group project. So I brought this kid named Larry on stage with me. I said, he'll hold the sketchbook. I'll explain what I do. So when I opened my sketchbook, everybody's like, ooh, the whole time. Like, oh, I didn't know you were this good. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. So from then, just going for that. And, when I was 16, I had moved to Brooklyn for good. Cause I was born in Harlem. I was born in Spanish Harlem, Metropolitan Hospital on 102nd. I was born in Harlem. I was raised in East Harlem until maybe I was like 14. Then I moved to, like, my mom was in Brooklyn. So I was in and out since I was 7. When I moved to Brooklyn full time when I was like 15, 16. So I had a teacher named Ms. Roberts. I took the visual arts class because I knew it was going to be easy. It says easy 90. Like, whatever. I don't care. I just want a good grade. So it was like 35 kids in the class. She gave us all the little made sketchbooks, paper, all that good stuff. The next day there were like 25 people in the class. It started shortening it down.
Wow. And
I'm like, okay, all right. So she was handing everybody back their sketchbooks. I saw writing in mine. I'm like, I've been kicked out of classes for being too good. This is like, I'm not even joking. I've been kicked out of classes because I finished projects too. So I was like, damn, in the book, it says you actually know how to draw, don't you? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I was hiding. I was like, yeah. So after that, she asked me to bring my sketchbooks in. She said, do you have a sketchbook? I said, yeah, I brought like 6 in. And she's like, listen, that Friday, it was like a Tuesday, that Friday I came in and she's like, you're not doing any of this. I'm like, what do you mean? She sat me in the corner, literally for the next 3 years. She sat me in the corner, gave me canvases, gave me paintbrushes, said, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Just do it.
Go. And that's when I got introduced to painting. And she took me to like the Brooklyn Museum. I saw a Basquiat exhibit. Then I saw the Jeffrey Wright movie, the Basquiat movie. And I've been painting ever since, literally.
So your original medium was pencil?
Yeah, pencil, Sharpie, typical stuff, crayons. I was never a big crayon guy, but I love pens. Like when I want to say maybe like 10, 11, I realized how good I was. I stopped using pencil.
Okay.
I just kept going with pens and like, I just love using pens.
And what were you drawing back then? Just characters?
I did characters. It was actually a nice mix. So I did characters like, the typical Disney, Looney Tunes, stuff like that. But I was also big on, portraits. So I would take my grandmother's magazines, draw the women in there. I had a Hot 97 poster once. This was like 90, maybe like 96. And I drew everybody from January to December.
Wow.
So it's like, I had an interest in just like actually just being good. So yeah, it's like, there's a lot of stuff. Then I grew up out of Graffiti Hall of Fame too. So I was into lettering. So it's like, yeah, it kind of fluctuated.
And the diversity of your artwork, now that you had this teacher, put you on this path, now you're into the painting. Where did you, what did you start doing with paint initially? Like what was some of the first early stuff that that kind of started setting the stage for you?
Yeah. The first painting I ever made, cause I had no clue what to do. The first painting I ever made was, it was a heart with wings on it.
Really?
Literally like a heart with wings. It was terrible. It was terrible. But when you first start something, it's not that great. So,
absolutely. 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah, exactly. Big time. So I did that and then I started like, it just reminded me like hieroglyphics. So I would like randomly make people just try to get good with the paint, just to try to figure it out. Cause I had a hard time struggling with the sketch to canvas paint. After that, I was like going straight paintbrush to canvas without drawing it out first. Gotcha. Nobody told me you can do that. So I'm like paintbrush to the canvas, just making people. And, so I would draw like people or at least attempt to draw people, little scenes and stuff like that. And, yeah, there was a lot of theme things. Like religion played a big part in some of my pictures. I don't know why it did. And, yeah, it was just like random shit.
Now, the thing about it is, you got into painting where you were doing that. One of the easiest things to ask is, what artists influence you, but I don't want to go that route yet.
Right.
Where did you feel your style was at the time, or what were you trying to go for? And I say this because some people, especially when they were drawing, like you were saying, pen, pencil, they either drawing cartoon style, anime style, graffiti, the graph style, and then it kind of just defines them from there. But seeing your artwork, it's so unique because of the way you present it.
Thank you.
You don't go and just go down the traditional path. Even with a lot of your cartoon pieces that I've seen,
right,
you add that flair, like a different usage of color. Maybe you want the background portrayed differently. How did you feel that your style was being refined as you got better as an artist?
I knew like people, because I mean, like I'm known for my line. And, people would always ask me like, yo, how did you find this? And I always tell people like, when you're lucky, you don't find a style. It finds you.
Right.
So I always knew that was kind of just a morphing of how I've always drawn. Like I always loved thick line. Like the Keith Haring stuff and like you said, the graffiti stuff. It's like, I love the outlines and I love at first it was just black and white. I hated color when I couldn't, but I feel like a lot of artists start off like, but, as I got older, and I started pushing, I was like, I'm influenced by so many different things. It was hard for me to like pinpoint just one thing, but I knew like the lines were always a thing for me. I want to say when I was maybe like 20, 23, 24 is when like I started kind of shaping everything. It started out like with the lines intersecting each other and the colors. And I'm like, all right, this could be something. Then I did a commission for one of my ex-girlfriends. Her mom asked me to do a commission and I did this bird. And at the bottom of the bird, instead of doing the tail feathers, the way this should be, that's when I started like doing these lines. And I'm like, that's something. That's it. Like I just knew is one of those moments. People always say these moments of clarity don't exist. They do. I was like, that's it. I would always stay at the bottom like, that's it. And from then on, like the lines were just everything for me. I worked for Urban Outfitters for a little while. And in 2011, like they had fired me. I worked for them for like 2 years. I literally took that whole summer, maybe about 3-4 months, and I literally did nothing but make lines. I told myself I want my lines to look as machine made as possible. I want it to look printed. I want it to be fake. I had a goal about it. So I want to say like my style fully shaped or started to shape when I was like maybe, so from, I want to say maybe about 22, 23 around then.
And then from there on in, you made that your trademark, because every artist has, a trademark, a different little thing that they kind of put in there. And I've noticed even on different pieces you introduce these lines and intricate pastels. I always like to compare a lot of your stuff to stained glass.
If you look at it, I'm obsessed with stained glass.
Yeah. So, and that's where I see it, it's like in Doctor Strange when they showed his, where the inner sanctum is, and it has like that stained glass window in the circle and there's all the colors. And I said, that's something he would paint.
I love stained glass.
Yeah. And I said it just to myself. So, looking at that, and then it's interesting that it just blends into your other styles. Now, with that said, how did you transition and start turning this now something that you're naturally good at into what you do now, where you're doing commissions? Like, when did you do like your first like big piece?
Good question. I know the first time I ever sold anything, I was 17.
Right.
Sold it for $75. And I sold it to one of my teachers. But after a while, after I got out of high school, like from 18 to maybe 20, 21, it was like a limbo. 18 to 20, 21, 22, something. It was like a limbo. I drew a lot. Like MySpace was still out. I was posting stuff on MySpace. Facebook just started popping in 2007. So I started posting stuff on Facebook, and it was just like, oh, me sharing my pictures. And it's like, oh, he knows how to draw. He knows how to draw. Like, that's cool. I always knew I wanted to be in the business, but the thing about being an artist is like, they never tell you where to start. It's like, there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint. I can't tell you when exactly I started selling stuff. I just remember, actually, I'm lying. I started with sneakers. I started customizing sneakers for people. Drug. That was where the money came from. I do remember that. It was a summer, like, I had no job. I had nothing. I had just started working it was before I started working at Best Buy. So I was 18 and I started painting sneakers. That's where the money came from at first. Then after that, I want to say I didn't sell my first painting, like adult painting, until I was 20, 21, 22. And then after that, it was literally just like being in the right place at the right time. I hadn't done any shows yet. When I was working for Urban Outfitters, I was like the resident artist, for lack of better terms.
Yep.
So I did like I learned how to do the window display stuff. I worked with that. Then I painted the break room. After that, I had a general manager. Urban Outfitters does a lot of collaboration.
Yep.
They had something with Tom's, the shoe company.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, I'm going to put your name in it because I think you should be in there. At that point, I already had my style almost down pat.
Fine, right.
Yeah. So it's like my drawing skills was like, it's years, So I worked with Tom's, and then from then on, I ended up personally working with them for five times by myself. We did like customizing events. And, after that, people just started paying attention to me, and like people would offer me money for my paintings. And I was never like precious with my work. I'm precious with the process.
Right.
Like the finished product is like, it's cool. I love my work, but it's not for me anymore. I'm done with it.
You're not married to the final product. You're only married to the work.
Exactly. So I was customizing the Kid Robot stuff, the money dolls. I was customizing those. That was where money was coming from too. So I want to say everything started popping off when I was like maybe 22, around that age.
Now, the thing about it is, you've, in doing this and going back to what you said about there not being a blueprint for this, did you find any resident artists, any artists that, you kind of would go to, like did you have a mentor at this stage? Did you have anybody that you could say, hey, somebody asked me for a commission, how do I approach it? Or were you just going into it using your own experiences? And I say this because, with art, that, mentorship
is important.
And that's something that some people they never get. How many talented people I see that could be drawing for Marvel or could be drawing for DC.
Yeah.
And they're just, selling stuff on Instagram and doing cons, and they never get that break because they never have that person to plug them in.
Right. I grown at that age. I didn't have a mentor. Like literally everything was trial and error. YouTube, Google. I'm talking like I'm a big documentary guy. I've watched almost every art documentary.
Wow.
Literally. It's like I have people I like, and I'm like, man, how'd he do that? How'd she do that? Where'd this go? And I'm like, I would pick, because documentaries, they leave little things out. So I'm like, all right, it seems like they did this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try that. Like I didn't have anybody to kind of teach me anything. I didn't have anybody walk me by. Nobody held my hand. Nobody's like, There were certain people in between I would meet, but nothing steady. Wow. So everything was literally trial and error. Everything's experience for the most part.
That's amazing, only because that's something, especially, and I want to bring this up as a New Yorker, as an inner city kid, that your skill set is self-taught. There was no, like I remember when I was like my brother can draw.
Okay.
And he's really good. And I remember I got How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and do this. And I'm like, nope. Nope. Like you just know. And, you know, I'd watch my brother draw and I try to pick up stuff, you know, draw the circles with the lines and the body right.
Get the face right.
And I'd try it. I'm like, nope.
Not for me,
and the thing about it is that as inner city kids, that's very lacking. I feel that, especially as an artist, because something you share often is when people are like, you still doing your little art thing?
Oh my God.
And I laugh at that when you share it, because the thing is that because people don't have those mentors and those relationships,
right?
It's like, oh, you're doing your little art thing. You're doing your little podcast thing.
Yeah.
You're doing because to them, they don't understand that they eat, sleep, and breathe it. And now at this stage of the game for you, as you're doing more of this stuff, are you trying to pass that on to other younger artists? Like, do people come to you now, like younger people, and they're like, hey, I do this. What do you think of this? Are you now in a way, the mentor now?
A little bit, yeah. It used to bug me out. I remember when I was like 25, 26. And I remember this is like cause Instagram came out, I had an Android when Instagram came out. So when Instagram first moved to Android, I was like, all right, finally. After a while, when I started getting like DMs, like when DMs first existed on Instagram, and I would get messages on Facebook and people would ask me questions, in my mind, I'm like, cause you know, as humans, we never feel like we're doing enough. We always feel like we could do more. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm just starting in my mind, but I've done so much that other people would see and they're like, how do you get into that? And I'm like, listen, I'm trying to find out just like you. Like, but after a while, I understand that, all right, I'm in a place that some people, I'm in the middle of something that some people wish they could just start. So I'm like, I have to be here to tell somebody something. So I do find myself giving advice to people, working with children as much as I can, at least to let people, you know, just even if it's just like giving some kind of encouragement. People would, like a lot of people get mad when they get messages and it's not about business. Like, it's not about making money. It's just somebody saying, hey, I like your stuff. Like, how'd you do this? I don't withhold information. Like, of course, a magician never gives all the secrets.
That's right.
But I'm not going to withhold certain things from you. Like, you ask me, hey, what kind of brush you use? I'll tell you. I can give you the tools. Doesn't mean you can do the work.
Exactly.
So I'll tell you, hey, yeah, I use the number 6, Sable script brush. Try it. Or I use, heavy body Liquitex, whatever. Try it. Like, I don't have no problem telling you that. So when somebody hits me up like, so how'd you do this? I'm not going to give you a step by step, but I'll definitely tell you, try this. Cause what I like may not be for you. So
but
it's like,
you got to discover it.
You have to. And that's what people lose that fact of, you have to work. You have to try it. You have to try it. I can't just tell you what to do. You have to actually dive in. Like you can't know how to swim if you don't get in water. So it's like, you have to do your thing. But, yeah, I find myself trying to give as much advice as I possibly can.
Now, you know, you're also, and this is something unique. You're taking your artwork now, you're doing it into live performance art. And, you know, I want to get into the science of that because that's not something you do every day. Like, yo, I was doing body painting, all this stuff. Like, how did that come about? When did you discover that, hey, this is a great way to showcase my technique?
Right. So I started the first live painting I did was in 2009. Shout out to my guy, Jamal Science. He's a rapper. He's super dope. I did something with him at Brooklyn College. And at that time I had my style down. I'm like, yeah, I could do this. Whatever. Man, the first 3 times I did live painting, I didn't
cocky and ready to go.
Fucking cocky. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I could do this. Like, whatever. I didn't even come close to finish the painting. I'll tell you, the first time I ever did, I brought 2 canvases with me. I was like, yeah, cause I'm gonna finish fast. I didn't finish one for the first 3 times I did it. After a while, I was like, all right, there's something to this. I have to figure this out. Like, how do I do this? So then I just went on a streak of live painting and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I like this. I think I was a performer in my past life because I would have like dreams of like flashing lights and stuff like that. So I did live painting for a long time and it was fun to me. It was a nice little way to make money. It's something extra than just doing galleries. Then after a while, like I got it down to a science. When people book me for live paintings, like the maximum is 4 hours. In that 4 hours, I can talk to people, have a drink, I can eat, I can stop, and finish everything before the time is done.
That's what's up. Because I bet you that's what was killing you initially, right? People stop, hey, blah, 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 and you're like, oh man.
Please give me, yeah, exactly. So I have it down to a science. After a while, I'm like, all right, you know what? I want to do something different. I'm going to do body painting, live body painting, which at the time nobody was doing.
Right.
This is 2014, 15. Nobody's doing this.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, at least nobody in New York that I've ever. I'm like, I'm going to do this. After a while, it starts becoming a thing. I'm not saying I started it.
You got that ball rolling.
I would like to think so. So I started doing that. And at this time, I'm like, I do body painting. Somebody was like, I'm going to do body painting too. I was like, you know what? I'm going to paint 2 women this time then. So I would like up it every single time. Then after a while, after like kind of just getting so good at it, not to sound like stuck up about it. After getting so good at it, I'm like, this is boring. I need to do bigger.
Right.
It needs to be bigger. I need to be better. 5 years ago, I had the idea of like doing art concert, like art performance. And, like my goal is to sell at Madison Square Garden. That's my next goal.
Hell of a goal.
And, I think I could do it in like the next 3 years. I think I could do it. I think I can. I knew for that to translate, I have to make something bigger than just standing there painting.
Right.
I've always seen theatrics. I've always seen like lighting. Lighting is so big to me. And like the production aspect, a big deal to me. So I knew I wanted to get into that. So last year I did the three performances, my three, the little trilogy.
Yep.
And, the first one, all I had was the idea. I got the venues. I'm like, I got everything down. I had no fucking clue what I was gonna. I had no clue.
And it was intense that first show, because I remember like it was very intimate.
Mm-hmm.
You had all these people around you, and I'm like, wow, how's he focusing when you have all these women there? You know, there's a lot of energy.
It was a lot
in that room, you know, and you're focused, and you're like, you know, and the performer who was there that you were painting.
Yeah, shout out to Dova. Yeah, she's dope.
I'm like, yo, how's he keeping it together? Like, just seeing those video clips, because like sensory overload, man.
It was so much. It was, yo, I tell you, at that time I was telling myself going into 2018, I said, yo, 2018 was a fly or die year for me.
Okay.
I said, something has to come out of this, and I have to force myself to make it happen. And if it doesn't, I told myself, I prayed about it and everything. I said, if something doesn't come out of this, I'm going to stop. I'm going to fall back. I'm going to stop. I'll keep it for myself.
Right.
But I'm not
sharing it with the world.
No. And that's when I said, if I do not get this idea out, because I sat on that idea for 5 years.
It'll rot.
It'll rot. And I'm like, 2018 was a really great year. So the first, I knew I wanted to do 3. I kept all my original dates. The first one, I got the venue, got the model. I got everybody to help me. And she's like, oh, so what do you want me to do? And I say, yo, just follow me. Everything's in my head. Just follow me. The DJ that did my music, I knew him. We went to the gym together. Literally that day, the event started at 8. He showed up at 6. That's when we made the playlist. I made the playlist at 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow. I gave him the rundown. He made magic. Everything came together. The second one, I was a little more planned out. It was the evolution happened so fast in like 5, 6. And then by the third one, I had the last show planned out and mapped out before the first one even happened.
Wow.
I knew how I wanted it to end, and the last one was perfect. So to have the lights and then like the first one was like you said, was so intimate. I did that purposely. Man, if you don't even understand how nervous I was, like sure. It doesn't look it. I'm like,
oh yeah, you were confident as hell. But
shitting bricks. I was shitting bricks, man. And but I knew like this was like that. And I shout out to my cousin Patrick Alston. I actually just went to one of his shows the other day. He's a painter too, and he comes to me and says, "Yo, I see what you're doing." He said, "But there's something missing." I said, "Me time. You'll see it." By the third one, he came to the third. He didn't come to the second one. He came to the third one. After the third one was over, he's like,
"You got it.
You did it.
There you go.
You got it." And I'm like, "I know."
What did you feel? What was it that was missing?
Just like the story was there. I wasn't allowing myself. I was so focused on the painting aspect
that your energy wasn't flowing in.
Yes, I wasn't allowing myself to like open the story up even more.
Right, because you're part of the story.
Exactly.
And you weren't making yourself part of the story.
Exactly.
You were making the person the story.
Exactly. So I said, all right, this last one has to do with me being it has to do with painting, but like it can't. So I purposely said, I'm not going to paint the woman. She's going to be painted already. And it just went with the story perfectly anyway. Like the whole trilogy was like the past 5 years of my love life, which was like that's a whole nother story. But, yeah, I told myself, like, if I'm going to do live anything, it needs to be bigger, it needs to be better. And the only way to do that is to like make it a production. That's, and like, I like being in front of the camera. I like the lights. Like I host events. I do all that stuff. So it's like.
You had that creative energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, as the audience came in for these shows, did they obviously came in to support you and support the movement. But when you did that first show, you know, how was the response after? Like, how were people reacting to you after that? Because again, you know, this isn't something that people just see every day. Like, this is a unique experience. What were those first like 24 hours like after you did that first show?
It was a mix of emotions. Like for one, when it came, like for promotion, I was so secretive. I didn't tell anybody anything. The flyers were out. That was it. I didn't, like my closest friends, I didn't say shit.
It was like a secret show at that point.
I was like, yo, just know that's going to be an event. It's going to be the experience. So after it happened, some things happened with the venue and like money, and I was overcharged for stuff. Like that had me angry. But after all that was like settled, I remember going home. I woke up and my girlfriend was with me. I woke up and she said, "How do you feel?" I legitimately cried because I felt, I just cried. I cried like a fucking, I was like, I did it.
That's
like,
amazing.
I did it. And, the reactions that people were getting, like, it was more love than anything, but I was happy because like 2 people came up to me and said, "I loved what I watched, but I don't know what I watched." Good. And, it was cool, man. It was cool. Like the love was real. People were excited, genuinely excited about it. They're like, "I need to know what's next." Some people came for all 3 parts. I'm like, "Listen, it's a story." Cause I do everything in 3s. That's just like my number. Some people like were telling me, "Man, yo, that's the sexiest playlist I've ever heard in my life." Cause it was like all 90s stuff. It was all classics. One woman was like, shout out to my boy Nico. Him and his girlfriend came and she was like, this threw my whole night off. Not in a bad way though. He walked up to me and I know Nico for some years. He walked up to me, gave him a hug. He said, "Listen, this is Lauren." She says, "I have one of your paintings for 6 years. It's been hanging in my room." She said, "I've been dying to meet you for 6 years."
Wow.
She's like, "This is my first time coming to one of your events and I'm so glad this was."
Wow.
I'm like,
how was that for you?
A lot. I was like, man, it's cause it's a lot to take in. Like I can take compliments and things of that nature, but when it comes to praise, like I can't take praise.
Right.
But that I can tell came from her. I'm like, I'm doing something right.
And she had one of your original pieces. So like that, it's like legit. I'm sure you felt it was it came full circle. Like you were like, wow, from where I started, where she bought a piece 6 years ago and now she's coming to my show.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
It was an experience, man. I was just happy to be able to share it with you.
Now, obviously as an artist, I want to switch gears. You're gonna, you jumped into Call Me When It's Over, which, is well past the 100 episode mark.
Thankful. Very thankful.
Running towards 200. How did you know that was the next step in your evolution as an artist? Like, where did that come from? Because it's not like you woke up and said, "Yo, I want to do a podcast." Like,
yeah. I mean, well, first off, thankful to you for giving me the platform. I appreciate that. So I started like I said, I hosted events. I used to run an open mic in Brooklyn. Okay. So I started out as a live painter, but then my business savvy said, "Hey, you know what? We can make money and like pay other people to do this, and then we can make more money for that."
Right.
And I was like, "I'll handle that. Let me do that." But it ended up not happening. Like, that's a long story, but I would host events sometimes because I was like, I painted, there was an intermission, then I host the rest of the show. So naturally, like, people are drawn to me already. And I enjoy telling stories. Like, I'm a good storyteller from what I heard. So I think that's one of my strong points. But, I got approached to do a YouTube series, probably maybe like a year before the inception of Call Me When It's Over. I did a YouTube series called Creative Flow. Shout out to my guy, Jason Ellis. He's like, "Yo, why don't you host a show?" I'm like, "About what?" He's like, "It can be like your travels as an artist. You can interview your friends and stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do that. That sounds like a good idea." Did it, caught the bug. We did one episode, caught the fuck. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. Then I'm sitting around with shout out to Jay Santee, Turnbuckle Tabloid, regular season sportscast. I'm sitting with him in his house one day and, I'm always telling him, we're always talking. And he goes, cause at this time he was already maybe like about 15 episodes deep with the regular season.
Yep.
And he's like, "You want to do a podcast?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Like, it wasn't like a conscious, like, I need to do this. He's like, "You want to do a podcast?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I went home and thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I should do this. Like, this makes sense. Cause I watched the whole, all the stuff that Apple does, like Pharrell's show and like all that other shit. Like, this is, and of course, like, this is when podcasting is like, it's pretty much just Combat Jack at that point.
Yep. When
it comes to like culture stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I knew where I wanted to take it. And now, like, 142 episodes in, almost 3 years in, it's like, it's making sense. It's definitely making sense. I had fun doing it. I truly believe that there are things in the culture like we don't talk about, and not even just like, I get it. We can talk about like mental issues and all that stuff all day. That's like typical stuff. But I want to, like, my whole goal is to bring entrepreneurs, artists, creatives into the space and show them that, we have different voices. Like, we actually speak. It's cause the typical, thought of an artist is that, oh, they're reclusive, they're stuck up, blah, blah, whatever. When you come, you realize like, oh, they're just like me. So cool. We can talk about who inspires you, but I want to know, like, what's your favorite scene in 5 Heartbeats? Like, what, we're normal people. So it's like, just to have that conversation and also get some gems, let people know like, hey, you're not in this by yourself. I'm an entrepreneur too. I'm learning too. Like, you can do this, you can do that type stuff. So it's I just knew this was something I had to do. And it may not even just be for me. I may be eventually building a platform we were talking about earlier. I may be building a platform for somebody else. This may just be the vessel.
Right.
Who knows? So yeah,
this is a new canvas.
That's
Podcasting is a new canvas for you.
That's it. That's it.
You know, with that, and you know, this is one of those things where you, as an artist now, you're growing, you're doing this. When you started doing Call Me When It's Over, how did you feel from an artistic standpoint now that you wanted to convey a message? Because now here you are, you're turning on a microphone, you're talking to the masses, so to speak. Your voice is going out there. What was the thought process when you were like, all right, I want to convey, like you were saying, hey, you want to make it seem like artists aren't, you know, we all individuals and we all have different things going on, and, you know, we're just like you. But besides that, what did you feel was your scope for what was your message going out there as an artist with this new medium?
At first I felt like I wanted to be respected in a different way.
Okay.
Because a lot of people that meet me and when we speak, they're like, I wouldn't have thought that you were artists. Like, artists don't talk like you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm just being myself, you know? And, going into the podcast, the things I would talk about are stuff that was relatable to me, things that I like, things that I thought were funny. But, like from the beginning, I felt like I had the idea, but I approached it incorrectly. Like, I approached it on the funny side.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool. But even though in my mind, I just knew, like, all right,
it's going to run its course.
Yeah. I'm like, you need to stick to the plan, like, stop getting away from the plan or whatever. So after a while, I would find myself inviting other artists and other creatives and trying to, you know, build that hub. And, talking about things like I remember talking about, was it Kendall Jenner that did the Pepsi commercial?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember talking about that. I talked about a lot of things. So it's like stuff that is in the culture, not so much current events all the time, but things like I can go from, I don't talk politics either. That's separate conversations, like private conversations. I don't even like doing that, but we can go from a conversation about, you know, how somebody got into doing murals to, your opinion on the whole, the LGBT community. It's like, it's a culture thing. So it's like but it all ties into one. So yeah, I think I felt like in the beginning, I was like, maybe for the first,
you were finding yourself.
Yeah.
Because I noticed the shift from, you know, the sunglasses episodes.
Right.
And all that, you know,
which is still a thing for me.
Yeah.
It's still funny to me.
Yeah. And I saw that and I said, you know, I noticed with every 10 to 15 episodes, you turn a little bit more of a corner as a creative. And I said, all right, he's hitting his stride with this because he probably feels that this isn't where he wants it to be, because every artist is a perfectionist.
Oh, yeah, always.
And they're
always.
like, oh, no, you know, I'm humble.
No, I'm not.
Exactly. You know, you're a perfectionist like everybody else. And I'm sure you go back and you go through your catalog of work and you're like, you know, whether it's art or even the podcast, I'm sure you look at your art from 5 years ago and I'm like, oh, it's so much better now.
I cringe when I see my work.
Or my color usage is so much more pronounced. And with the podcast, you're probably like, damn, I shouldn't have really gone that route with this. So with, you know, that evolution now and you evolving as an artist, where do you want to take both your artwork and your podcast, and where do you want them to intersect?
So right now I have a company called Painted in Blue. That's my company. The goal for that company is literally to be kind of along the lines of what like Kanye does with Donda.
Okay.
It's like, you know, eventually, you know, I have a team and like we'll do graphic design for this. Like you'll still have my work represented by that, but then also having the media part of it. Whereas, you know, we have the podcasting, we have the videos. It's like I need to be like the same way I didn't have somebody like step by step teaching me things. I feel like my show and the area that we touch, those people listen to me. So no, I'm not going to be politically correct all the time, but I'm going to tell you.
You're a tastemaker in that field.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I understand those people listen to me. So a lot of people don't have the thought to go, hey, I'm going to go to Google and just Google this and figure it out. Whereas there's something that's in your face now telling you, hey, like the way Gary Vaynerchuk does. It's like, he's so brash and bold. And it's like, this is that. You don't have to search for him because you just know his stuff is around.
Right.
And, for my show, I want to be, I don't care about being a public speaker, but I want to be that for somebody, like the artist who doesn't know what they want to do or doesn't know where they want to go. It's like, listen to me, your purpose consistently changes. You change, your purpose will change.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to just go with the flow sometimes. Know what you want to do, but don't be afraid to change or expand. So just kind of being that all wrapped into one for the people who are kind of chasing a dream like myself.
Well, I think that's something, you know, and I want to go into that. You know, you mentioned Gary Vee, you mentioned Kanye West. You and I have talked about like Virgil Abloh, these guys. You know, it's interesting because the term art is thrown around to just define people that draw, people that paint.
Yeah.
But there's different artists, you know, there's music artists, there's different, and I noticed, you know, you reference key ones like Kanye or Gary Vee. Where do you feel that their artwork has taken your artwork? Meaning like a guy like Kanye West, a guy who's so multifaceted between music and art and clothing and everything else. He's inspiring a lot of people, but in the midst of that, he's also creating a sense of controversy. Do you feel that as an artist, as these guys that you follow, the controversy and the art have to go hand in hand because it defines them? Or do you feel that it's something where people create the controversy because it's the cool thing to do in our current climate?
People do complain about it, but there is like celebrities do have a privilege of being able to separate the work from the person. Right. Even though the average person doesn't do that. Kanye is literally like one of my, outside of Prince, he's one of my biggest influences in creative life. Yeah. Like, okay. Because I mean, I've followed him from, I would like to say beginning, cause like for his first 2 mixtapes after the car crash and all that stuff, like I've been following him since then. And I'm everything he does, I just watch and I'm like, you know what? That's cool because he's always stood in his own truth, stood in his own words, stood for himself and believed in him. But it's like Jay-Z said, you know, you can, what he said, you can, die and be a hero, live long enough to be the villain. Right. It's like Kanye lived long enough in his celebrity to become the hated. And now with the way social media is, you become hated faster in your career. Absolutely. Than anything. Like you can be great today and next week it's like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Like I hate you.
People remember the bad so much quicker than they could.
Oh my God. Like free thinkers, people who are forward thinkers or people who just think for themselves will always be hated faster than somebody who follows the status quo. He is somebody who clearly thinks for him. Like we loved him when he said, I'm not saying I agree with everything he says because people misconstrue that. Yep. You do not have to agree with everything he says.
100%.
But the same energy that he had when he says George Bush doesn't care about black people is the same energy. Not saying it's right or wrong. It's the same energy he has when he says, I love Trump. It's the same energy. It's just in a different context now. But, controversy comes with people who think for themselves and he's a creative to the word. Like this guy has taken, he forced Nike to change. A musician forced Nike to change. Like those are things that people dream about. People dreamed about, oh, I want an Air Force One and I want to color it. No, he said, I want my own silhouette. Did 2 of them. Changed every fucking. He changed the way people shop for shoes. He changed the way people dress. Like same thing with Jay-Z. You look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z told people we only wear Air Forces one time. I'm buying a new pair of shoes. We only wear these jeans. I'm only wearing these jeans. We drink Cristal. I want to buy champagne now. Like he's a tastemaker, even though like I kind of hate that word a little bit because Instagram overutilizes it.
Absolutely.
But he's
influencer.
Exactly. Right. Like, okay, whatever. Guys like Kanye, Jay-Z, Gary Vaynerchuk, these people stand in their truths. They know who they are. So it's like, they're always going to have a thought that nobody's going to agree with. And they're fine with that. But at the end of the day, they make great shit. It's all about results. Do you make great shit? That's all that matters.
Right.
And, so I love Kanye. I don't agree with everything he says, but I love him. I still believe in him.
Well, I want to talk about, you know, it's funny. You had touched on mental health and, you know, Kanye's been a lot of stuff publicly documented. As an artist, you know, where does it take you emotionally sometimes? And I say this because, you know, the whole tortured artist aesthetic. Yeah. But I also want to talk about it from the standpoint of, do your emotional states influence the type of art that you?
It's a 50-50. I can tell you that. It's a 50-50.
Okay.
My emotional, like anything I've been through emotionally, they affect my live performances. Okay. Like my work, like my actual paintings and things of that nature. Like when I paint things that are dark, like, cause most of the women I paint don't smile. Yep. There's a story behind that, of course, but like, yeah, most of them don't smile. Wow. But the way I paint them is everything has bright colors. So it's like hiding the pain
internally.
Yeah. So it's like they're smiling internally. So I kind of purposely use colors to portray a feeling in my paintings. And it's like, that emotion plays a big part mostly with my life. That's it. Cause it's like, I feel like I get to utilize more. I get to utilize music. I get to utilize lights. I get to show a little more. Like my 3 performances, like I said, was about the past 5 years of my love life. And it was a lot. At one point I was in an 8-year relationship that ended. Then after that, I thought I fell in love again, but that was just like a straight up ego thing. I found somebody who ended up, we ended up, in a situationship, but we later became best friends. Like we're like best friends now. And, now my love life is kind of open. I mean, I'm with someone now, but it's like I allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to love again. So going into those performances, like I had to dig deep and put myself in a place where I didn't want to be anymore. Shit that I forgot about, especially the last performance. I'm like, if I didn't have certain people around me, I literally would have gotten into a deep depression just to get, like, it's like method acting.
Right.
It's kind of like that. Like I had to, cause I'm happy at this point in my life. So I had to remember how I felt when this person told me they didn't want to be with me anymore. When I found that this person was talking to another guy, when this person, like I had to live those all over again. So it's like emotion plays a big part, mostly only for my performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I say this only because, sometimes they'll, somebody will do a piece and they'll be like, what are your thoughts on this piece? And the artist he was angry. And that's why I asked, because I'm sure that, you've had people dissect your work and they're like, oh, were you happy when you painted this? And you're just like,
yeah, because that's me. Like I always tell people my work is like 8% super.
Right.
I just like the way.
Right.
And, of course there's stories behind certain things, but I never tell anybody they're wrong when they dissect my painting. I never tell them they're wrong. I'm like, whatever you get is what you get. If you ask me what I meant, I'll tell you, but I never tell anybody.
Before we shift gears, I want to talk about your artwork with the female form. And the reason I want to get into this is because, we're in a climate where, the views on genders, the way women are portrayed, everything is under constant scrutiny.
Big time.
Both because of the way that the representation may misrepresent a gender, but also in the way that, the voice that women thought they did not have is more prominent now than ever before.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about that because you do a lot of women in your pieces, both, painted, but also in your performances. How has that shift, that cultural shift, impacted the way that you view the art form, especially the female form within your artwork?
Right. Women have always been my biggest inspiration. I was raised by women. I am, I have a brother, but I also have 2 sisters. I'm the second oldest of 4. So I was raised around my grandmother, my sisters, my mother, her friends. A lot of empathy
in your life.
A lot of it, but I also have that middle child syndrome. So I'm by myself a lot. I'm by myself and I'm like really independent. It's like, but I still want to be with you type stuff, When it came to so me painting women is natural. It's natural. It's been in my life. I always say women are the closest thing to God on earth, only because
they're a creator.
They're creators. Exactly. They're creators. They're the power of multiplication. Men can't do that.
Right.
We can't do that. So that's God gives life. So do they. Like it's, what else do you say? That's why it's called Mother Nature, not anything else. It's whenever I do anything, like even my lines represented by women, the curves and the just the length of certain things, like the flow. It's all inspired by women. Everything I do is about women. And, a lot of it is subconscious, but when I started body painting, I purposely told myself, I need to paint on women of color. I need to paint on women of different sizes. I need to see average people up there too, or whatever would be the quote unquote average woman. I purposely paint, women that look like me and women that look like where I'm from, so whether, so like Latin women, black women, like it's like I purposely have these women depicted because in art, a lot of times if it is depicted, it's for commercial use only. Like people just want to be hot.
Right.
Whereas this is all I want to see. It's like, cool. Yeah. Mona Lisa. Cool. Got that. Marilyn Monroe. Got that. Yeah. But what about this one? Like this is what I see every day. So it's like, I'm going to paint what I see every day. Like one of my favorite painters, Kerry James Marshall, he purposely paints black people in the color black. He doesn't use brown.
Really?
He purposely uses the color black because he's like, I want my paintings to be as black as possible. And his pictures are beautiful.
Wow.
And it's like, I just represent what I love and what I see. I always paint what I love. So women, for me, they are my life.
They're the foundation to who you are.
Big foundation, yeah.
And it's interesting because being raised by women, it's funny because, it talks about empathy and, people always talk about that, that people that grow up in, one person households being raised by either a mother or a father,
Mm-hmm.
the way that their view of the world is different than people that are in the quote unquote nuclear family.
Right.
And, before we move on, I think that especially what you just said with how it ties into your work, I think that, product of your environment is definitely applicable as an artist. Right?
Mm-hmm. Big time. Well, they always say like you are what you eat, and what you consume is like not just
Right.
through your mouth. It's like your eyes and your ears, like everything you are. So I am definitely a product of my environment, but I am of my environment, but I'm not stuck in my environment,
And you're not a byproduct.
there you go.
of your
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Like
Yep.
too many people get that confused. It's like, yeah, I'm from the hood. Like I grew up in the projects. I have these tendencies. Like you fuck with me for story. You know what I'm saying? Like I had these things, but I am not them. The people who decided to sit on the block all night. Like I listen, product of the 80s. My mother was a crackhead. Father was a crackhead. My grandmother my mother was a single child. She took all four of us in just so we didn't end up in foster care. Every drug dealer you could think of, around that time, still crack bottles on the floor. Everybody high out of their mind.
Yep.
I had the same lifestyle as a lot of people I know who ended up in jail, gang members, drug dealers. Like we all grew up the same exact way, but I just chose not to do that.
A conscious choice.
Exactly.
And that's what I always tell people when they talk about, yo, man, the hood raised me. No, you chose to let the hood raise you. Because at the end of the day, the same set of ideals that I'm presented with. It's like just the basics.
Yeah.
Like, hey, be kind to your fellow man.
Say good morning.
Say good morning. Hold the door.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Like things like that. Like everybody kind of gets those. And if you don't, and that environment doesn't teach you that, in this day and age, there's somebody that you get that from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's one thing, you are what you consume also goes back to that. You see a lot of these guys and that's the next thing I wanted to say, that people absorb like these artists, and instead of just being inspired by them, they're too wrapped up in wanting to become them.
Yes.
Like there's only one Kanye West.
That's
There's
it.
only one this person. Like be the best you.
That's it. I believe in competition. I believe in healthy competition too.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, you have to. Like if I'm not around people who are better than me at something, then I'm wasting my time. I don't want to be a big fish in a small. I do not want to be. I want to become better. I want to be like, shout out to my partner, Alexis. She's also one of the hosts of Call Me When It's Over. We had this conversation. I was talking at like maybe 2:00 in the morning, and we were talking about that. Like being around people who are just, who you, by being aware enough to put people in the room with you who are just as good or better than you at something. Because if I'm in a room full of people who all only know what I know, we're all just wasting time telling stories. It's a waste of fucking time. So
and it becomes a game of one-upsmanship.
That's it.
Inadvertently sometimes.
It's like I have a red hat. Well, I got a red hat and a red shirt.
Yep.
Like no, stop it. Like Kanye, I don't, and I truly believe, and this is what people get confused too. Don't idolize. It's a waste of time. You idolize people, you'll be disappointed. Look up to somebody. There's nothing wrong with admiring and looking up to people. I wanted to work. I mean, I still will work with Kanye. It doesn't matter. But like, I was always influenced by his work ethic and his thought process. Is like, man, to take the soul beats but flip it like nobody else was doing, or like he started as a painter. Then he wanted to be a designer. It's like he lives limitless, and people are so used to this whole narrow-minded, it has to be like this. They completely dismiss how great somebody is, and they don't want to be sitting still.
My buddy Jimbo Slice used to say, I don't want to be put in a box. There is no box.
There's no box.
And I think that's a great way to close that out. That you as an artist, I feel you are constantly looking to transcend different barriers culturally, racially, mentally. You're definitely, and I see it just between your expressions, the way you do things, your artwork. You're never stagnant.
Mm-mm.
It's never like, I'm just going to keep drawing this same portrait forever. It's like,
that shit gets boring.
You are the shark. Like, if you don't keep moving, you die creatively.
That's a fact.
And I think that, that's something that's been huge for you. And I think that's something that's going to take you very far.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. And it's all about wanting to be better. That's it. You have to want to be better. And I get bored if I keep doing this. Like in 2017, I did my color challenge where I did a picture a day for every month. Every month I did.
I remember that.
Yeah, every month
themes.
I chose a color. Yeah, different themes. And I did for 365 days. I was making new pictures every single day. And even if I missed a day, I'm doubling up, you know? In my mind, the way the color challenge started, I remember the first two pieces I made, it was like an elephant and something else. But then these images, like I got into fashion illustration. Like I became obsessed with the whole process of that. And, I started drawing these women and I'm like, all right, in my mind, there was an image in my head and I would not stop drawing women until I saw the image in my head on that paper. And now that I saw that when December came, I kid you not, as corny as cliche as it might sound, when December came, that image slightly came onto paper. But I knew after that, now it has to be bigger than this. It has to be more than this. So I always want to be better than myself. I'm not really, comparison is like death. I don't compare myself to anybody. I just want to be one up myself every single. You just have to be better. And like you said, that's a shark. Yeah, I got to taste. There's blood in the water. I got to get it. I got to get it. Yeah.
All right. So the next part of our show is the hot seat series of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Easy. What comes to mind? You know, I want to start with the artistic side of things. Now that you've drawn with so many mediums, what's the medium that makes you feel the most at home?
That makes me most comfortable.
Yep.
Pen. Just regular old ink and paper.
And, is there a particular type of pen you like to use?
Ballpoint pens. Yeah, like big ballpoint. Specifically, like if I could find the clear ones.
Oh my God.
I love those.
The ones at the check cash.
Yeah, I love
hanging
those.
on the string that they yell at you that you take.
I love those. Yeah, ballpoint pen.
Nice. You know, on the switch to painting, you mentioned what are your favorite brushes?
Like favorite brand, I'm gonna say there's a brand called Sable. I specifically them for their script brushes, like for my line work. So I'm gonna say Sable, yeah. And
you know, going in that same direction, what's your preferred color of like,
blue.
what's a blue?
Blue all day, blue. Purple's creeping up there now too.
Purple's creeping up there.
Purple's creeping up there.
But there's always that blue influence,
always blue,
right?
always blue. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like to create with music or without? And if so,
I can't do anything without music.
All right.
I can't do anything without music.
So what's playing in the background if you were painting?
Mostly R&B. R&B. It's like old school stuff. Anita Baker, you know, Luther. Yeah, mostly R&B.
When you start your day, what's the first thing you open up on your phone?
After what? After I pray. I try to pray as soon as I get up.
Okay.
The first thing I open up, Instagram. Instagram.
Nice.
Instagram, yeah. I can't even lie about that. I would say my emails, but I'll be lying.
Nice. Obviously as someone who's an artist, you know, your phone is your lifeblood now. Like everybody, you can run your business off your phone. Outside of that, you know, what's your favorite piece of tech besides your phone? And it doesn't have to be a digital piece.
It's,
I know.
Yeah, cause that's so easy to just say. That's a good one. I mean, if it's not my phone, depending on what I'm doing, it has to be my iPad. Cause I do design stuff on I do that. Cause I don't really watch TV and stuff like that. I mean, I watch things, but I just don't literally physically watch it.
Do you draw on your iPad?
I just recently got into doing digital stuff on my iPad. Yes.
Procreate?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You know, it's funny cause I know an artist that was put on my radar recently and she draws in Procreate heavy.
It's fun.
And I'm like, this is the next step. And it was funny cause I went to a Comic-Con recently and a guy was just walking around with an iPad and an Apple Pencil and he was paying for commissions and he was just having them drawn in his iPad. And
that's genius.
Like I remember back in the day, guys used to take just a black book and have every artist draw in it and fill the book and that would be it. But this guy was walking around with an iPad and a pencil and he's like, hey, can you just sketch me Wolverine or can you sketch me? And it was dope just because, you know, the guys are there and there were some guys who never drew on an iPad.
Nice.
And it was just like watching that creative process. And I was like, that's insane. Like when the iPad first started getting like stylus support.
Yeah.
I saw that. It wasn't even like Apple Pencil. There's a stylus.
Yes.
He had them drawing with a stylus and you see these guys, like, their world. And when they were done, you'd be like, I'd come back or I'd be walking the show floor. I'd come back and the guy'd be like, damn, now I got to buy one of these. 'Cause that was the change.
I remember the first time I saw that iPad XL. It was B&H over on 50 something street or whatever it is, a camera store. I tried and I said, I want one.
Yep.
I need this. Yeah.
It's changed the game as a creator. And it's funny because you said, you know, you draw with pencil, but the digital artistry is becoming.
It's hard to escape.
It's crazy. Like there's a guy I follow, Boss Logic. He does a lot of like custom stuff. So whenever like somebody says, hey, I heard that, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be Batman. Dude, within hours, Here's what I think Jake Gyllenhaal would look like as Batman, and he has it out there. I think he just broke 1 million followers on Instagram.
Damn. It's convenient.
And it's insane. And you know what's crazy? The work he did was shouted out by like Robert Downey Jr. Like he did, you know, the poster for Us, for the new movie that's coming out with them taking
Which
off
I can't
their
wait
face.
to see that. Yeah.
He did a whole series using the Avengers like that, where it's like Tony Stark and he's taking off the mask and it's the Iron Man mask.
That is
he did
fire.
one and he did all these, and like the Russo brothers, you know, Robert Downey Jr., they all like, yo, look at this. And you know, he just used the Us poster as
for
his,
the influence,
as his views for that. It was crazy.
That's fire. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, and that's why I was asking about digital artwork, do you think that's the next frontier for you as an artist, like to do that as a medium? In addition to obviously your own stuff, but is that the next?
I'm intrigued by it. Always have been. I'm intrigued by it. I'm definitely moving into trying out a little more each day. That's convenient, but I don't think anything's ever gonna get me away from just. Okay. But yeah, it will. But digital artwork will definitely be in the catalog soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you sketch every day?
Every day. Literally like almost all day. If I'm just like sitting there, I have to just Oh.
Do you sketch on public transportation? Like when you're
when I'm riding?
Yeah.
I definitely do. My rides have been pretty short lately, so not as much as I would like to. But whenever I have a long ride, I got my sketchbook with me now.
Nice.
Every day, yeah.
I know you're a gamer. And you know, what was the first game you played?
Ever?
Yeah. What was your first video?
The first video game I remember ever playing is Pole Position.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the first game I ever remember playing. And I was excited because when you were driving, cause I was like 3. When you were driving, then it would turn nighttime.
Yep.
Loved it.
What was the last game you played?
I played Resident Evil 2 last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I like it. I'm glad they changed the angle cause that weird ass diagonal angle. God. Couldn't stand it. Yeah.
That's how I used to get bodied easily in that game. Like, I can't turn. I also played too slow.
I played some snowboarding game this morning too. It was like, an ESPN snowboarding game.
Nice.
It was fun. Yeah.
What is something you've purchased recently that's less than $100 that has made your life easier or more enjoyable?
That's a really good question. What was the last thing yes, I actually do know. So there's another medium that I paint with. It's called, gouache. It's not quite watercolor and it's not acrylic, but it has like this really cool matte consistency. So you can manipulate it with like watercolor because it gives this really rich matte color. But it stays open for 7 years. So if you wet it after like a year, you can still mess with it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super dope. So I tried that. I bought that and I bought a pack and I'm like, I love it. Yeah.
I'm sure you're already thinking of, I'm going to do a painting in 2019 and then I'm going to do it in this medium. 7 years from now, I'm going to come back and change it and just trip.
I have pictures that I have wrapped in plastic just waiting. Just waiting.
Like the Banksy self-destruct.
Just waiting. I'm like, just walk by with a water bottle, squirt.
Yep. Oh, I got what happened.
Yeah, so gouache, yeah, that's definitely something I like.
Nice.
And I paid like $15 for those too.
Really?
I got it, yeah, because Michael's had a 50 off coupon.
Nice.
So I paid like $15, yeah.
Obviously, you know, we talk about toys here too. You know, what was your favorite toy growing up as a child?
G.I. Joes. Those and like WWE action figure. Well, WWF at the time. Action figure, WWF.
The old rubber ones?
Yeah, the rubber ones. Then when was it I forgot what company did it, but when they did the smaller one.
Oh, the thumb wrestlers.
Yeah. Those. I collected like all types of ones. I had the original like little, was it like 8, 9, 10 inch Hulk Hogan or whatever that came with the replaceable shirts and the belt.
Oh man.
I had that. Yeah. I was a big, and micro machines.
Wow.
I collected micro machines.
That's pretty cool.
I did collect micro machines.
Yeah, micro machines were the truth.
Yeah.
Especially if you were a kid, you could sneak them into school.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did collect those. But yeah, those were like my first toys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you collect anything currently?
Yes, I collect Funko Pops.
Nice.
I definitely do.
And you also customize them in.
I definitely do.
With that artistic flair.
Thank you, sir.
How do you feel about, you know, the fact that you can buy them blank and do that, you know, do all these customs? What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like more companies should embrace things like that? Should, like, the company that does WW action figures sell like a blank body for you to create your own?
They should. Yeah, they should. There's something about like do it yourself stuff. Cause like alright, so I'll tell you in 2010, 11, when Funko did the first Mickey, I bought that series and I bought the Simpsons series for $5. No, yeah, $5 once. Nobody cared about those toys.
Hell no.
I painted them. Now it's like worth $4,000. I painted them, and I'm like, so I never not had that bug about it. So after a while, when I started seeing them doing blanks, I'm like, back on this. But I'm like looking for specific shapes and stuff. So I would like buy the actual toy, acetone it down, go for it. But yeah, they should give like a blank John Cena body or like a blank Thanos body or something like that. Like, you know, create your own thing. That'd be fire.
There's a guy, he's actually, he's probably going to be a guest in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He did, you know, when we were growing up, they had the He-Man action figures and, you know, they had that particular body style. So Funko started releasing figures in that body style. They call it.
Didn't they do a Friday the 13th?
Yeah, they did the Friday the 13th. They did Thundercats in that style. Nice. So now you can put your Thundercat figures with He-Man.
That's fire.
Which was weird. And they're doing a new line, which is a DC, the Primal Age, where it's like making the DC characters like in that warrior, like they have a Superman, and he's riding like a giant dog.
That's dope.
But the thing about it is this guy, he customizes them and he does like, hey, here's, you know, Shazam and here's this. And it's crazy the amount of people that have turned the action figures now into an art form. That's why, you know, you doing it with the Funkos is pretty awesome.
It's fun. It's fun. I mean, I love kind of taking things and that exist and just juxtaposing them. It's fun. I have a good time with that.
The next question, if you can have a meal with someone alive or dead, what would it be and who would it be?
So, oof.
And what would,
that's so tough.
And the third part of that is, what would you want to add?
Damn, that's really tough. It would probably have to be Prince.
Okay. Nice.
It would have to be Prince, and we would go get waffles and chips. And I would ask him why Morris Day, because I love Morris Day. I want to know why him. Like, I heard the stories, but I would love to hear it from him. Like, why Morris Day? Why choose him to be a lead?
Nice.
That's
All right. Yeah. And last but not least, a year from now, if somebody came back to you a year from now and said, "Where are you at?" What would you tell them professionally?
Professionally? I can easily say the quintessential answer, like, I'm right where I need to be. I could say that.
Of course.
But,
but that's not you.
That's not me.
That's why I asked.
If somebody asked me where I'm at, I'm definitely in the middle of my office for Painted in Blue. Probably not living in New York. Okay. Either Philly or California, one or the other. And, I'll be covered in paint.
Nice.
Covered in paint. Signing $1 million check.
There you go.
That's it.
All right. And last but not least, you know, we like to give people value. I like to call it reach one, teach one. What do you want to tell artists that just are trying to figure things out? What's one piece of actionable advice you want to give them?
Rule number 1, if you feel it in your heart, do not stop. Because people are so, like, we live in a social media age where it's so easy to get caught up in comparison or opinion, like people's opinion. If you make your work for you, continue to do that no matter what stage you're on. And if you have a dream, just keep following it and just know that it's not going to happen. Literally, as cliche as it sounds, it will not happen overnight. You will be going through lots of heartbreak, losing money, losing friends and things of that nature. But you have to remember that it's all for a greater purpose and be limitless. Don't allow yourself to be boxed in. When another opportunity comes, you don't have to take it for the simple fact of taking it. But if you feel your heart is moving in that direction, just do it. You just don't have to give up your original. Just do it. So live limitless and never stop.
That is a great way to end the interview. Josiesboy, I want to thank you for sharing the toys and tech of your trade.
All love.
And we'll make sure to include all the links to find all of Josiesboy's work in the show notes for this episode. Thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that wraps up our interview with Josiesboy. To find out more about Josiesboy and to keep up with his work, we're going to include links to all his different social media profiles in the show notes for this episode. And of course, if you want to check out brand new episodes of Call Me When It's Over, you can look for them every Saturday on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and the Google Play Store. As for us here at RageWorks, you can keep up with us via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we also have a Facebook group as well. The best way to engage with us, if you want to really engage with our content, though, is definitely via the Facebook group or via Instagram, just because Twitter, it's tougher to engage on a consistent basis, and Facebook, with the algorithm changes, just makes it harder and harder to interact with you guys directly. But as always, you can use those methods to engage with us on social. If you want to be on a future episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade, you can email me, rich@rageworks.net. You can also fill out the contact form on the site, and we will definitely try and set something up. Last but not least, as always, you can find new episodes of Toys and Tech of the Trade every other Tuesday on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and the Google Store. All right, guys, thank you guys for checking out this brand new episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace.
Hey, I'm Kayla. As a mom working from home, life is crazier than ever, especially on days like these. But I'm still ruling my day thanks to Metro. Metro gave me an awesome phone and tablet. Now my son can get his homework done on the tablet without needing to borrow my laptop. Plus, with Metro, Amazon Prime is included, so I can access great deals and discounts on school essentials and get them delivered in no time with unlimited free shipping. All while keeping an eye on my son to make sure he finishes his online practice tests before he starts watching his favorite Amazon originals.
Right now, get a new phone and tablet on us when you switch to Metro, the #1 brand in prepaid. Plus, enjoy high-speed data on both devices with one Amazon Prime membership included for just $75 a month. Metro by T-Mobile. Rule your day.
I'm Kayla, and that's how I rule my day with Metro.
With new lines of service after rebate redemption plus sales tax and activation fee. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members on select rate plans. Amazon Prime has a $12.99 a month cost. Restrictions apply.
If we want to list every way Spreaker can help podcast publishers, well, we need a podcast of our own. Whether you're in charge of long-running series with extensive backlogs or countless limited series, you can organize and monetize your entire catalog with Spreaker. With Spreaker's customizable publisher plan, you can add collaborators, analyze extensive listener analytics, and even share exclusive content through custom RSS feeds. And that's just for starters. Head to Spreaker.com to learn more. That's Spreaker.com.